We're going to do a little DIY project here at Comms by Kemp Outside today. We are going to build a box for an APRS radio. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin and this is Comms by Kemp Outside. We're your inside source for outdoor comms. Well, one of the things that I've noticed when I'm traveling and I'm using a handheld radio to beacon my position on APRS, oftentimes my position doesn't get picked up, right? My transmission, my APRS transmission doesn't get picked up. And it's oftentimes probably because I'm in rural areas where there isn't a digipeater nearby, and I'm only transmitting 5 watts off a handheld radio. And so what I want to do is I want to build a more powerful radio to transmit my position. And I want to do it with mostly just spare parts and stuff I have laying around. And I want to build something that's really cool. So this is what I'm going to do, guys. So the first thing I have is I have this Plano plastic box. And I think this one is let me see what the model number is, a 1612, model 1612 field box from Plano. These are awesome because they're, waterproof. They've got a gasket, nice to carry, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an old handheld that I have. So I'm going to use this old Ocean, and this is the KG UVD-1P. It's a dual band radio in 2 meters and 440, but obviously we're just going to have it on 2 meters for the APRS frequency of 144.390, right? So we're going to use this. And instead of running it off a battery, I've got a battery eliminator for it, right? So this just clips into the back of the radio, and then all I have to do is plug that into a cigarette lighter, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an antenna out of this box using this bulkhead, right? I'm going to drill a hole. And then we're also going to provide power to the box by an Anderson connector, right? We're going to drill into the side of the box. And then that way I can connect an antenna to this, maybe on the roof of the car, or if I'm using it in the field when I'm camping, I can put it on like a Slim Jim antenna in a tree or something. But basically it'll be a whole lot better than just an HT with an HT antenna. Now, one of the other things I wanted to do was I wanted to increase the power. And when I was at Hamcation, I picked up this old Radio Shack 2 meter power amplifier. And so it does 30 watts out with a 5 watt in. So that's perfect to connect to an HT. So I'm going to put this in the box. And then the other thing, guys, is you might be saying, well, that Ocean KG UVD-1P isn't an APRS radio. And you're right. But with a mobile linked TNC, anything can be an APRS radio. So we're going to connect this, we're going to put this in the box, and basically we're going to power everything. We're going to power the radio, the mobile link TNC, and the amplifier off the Anderson connector. So what I'm also going to put in the box is this dual port cigarette lighter, right, that we're going to connect to the Anderson connectors, and we're going to wire everything in. And then I have some jumpers here for, this one is from the radio to the amplifier, and this one is from the amplifier to the output of the box. So we've got some work to do. I think the first thing I need to do is I need to take this box out to my shop and go ahead and drill my holes, and then we're going to figure out how to get everything mounted. Now, what I'm going to do for this build, right, is I'm just going to Velcro everything in. So this amp is going to sit on the bottom of the box like this on a Velcro sheet on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and Velcro in the radio. I'm going to just slap some Velcro on the back of the battery eliminator, and I'm going to go ahead and Velcro in the mobile link TNC. None of these things are super heavy, so I don't think that is going to be a problem. And if it is, I can always permanently mount it later, but I didn't want to drive any screws or anything through the box itself. So I think with some adhesive Velcro, we're not going to have any problems at all. Let me go drill those holes, and then we'll get back to our build. All right, guys, I'm back from the shop. I got my holes drilled. So here is the power, right? Anderson connector. And then here is the SO239 for a PL259 antenna connector. So go ahead and open up the box. You can see inside. And so here it is. So you can see I've got a piece of coax in already because I was just test fitting that. And then I'm going to have to go ahead and connect the power wires inside. So let's go ahead and get stuff laid out. The next step is going to be to put some of the Velcro inside, figure out where everything's going to go Velcro wise, and get it wired up, and then it'll be ready to test. Let's get to work. All right, so we have the box in place. I did put this one little piece of Velcro here. This is going to be for the power. And what I did was on the bottom of the amp, I already have Velcro on the bottom of the amp. So what I want to do is I want to set it inside here, and I want to figure out where I'm going to lay the radio. So the radio is going to lay in, I think right here like this, right? And then that's going to get hooked up. And I think I'm going to Velcro the MobileLink TNC right here. So I think that's how the layout's going to be. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and put in some Velcro here. Here are the bottom pieces of the Velcro. So what I'm going to do, I think is I'll just put it on here. Then I'll just peel them and stick them. I'll just peel off the, stick them. And I may end up having to redo this Velcro because this Velcro is kind of old. I've had it a long time. And I'm not super impressed with the amount of stickum on the back side here. So, actually this one doesn't want to peel. There we go. There we go. All right. So I got that. I'll go ahead and just set this down inside here, right in the middle. Give it a good press. But if worse comes to worse and I have to redo the Velcro, that's not a big deal. Let's go ahead and hook up our antenna out. All right, we're connected there. All right, good. Do a test placement. On the radio. Looks like we'll have plenty of space there. So we'll go ahead and get some Velcro set up on here. All right, put some Velcro on the back of that. All right, there we go. All right, we'll go ahead and stick that on like that. Go ahead and peel it off. And we'll go ahead and put it in place. There we go. And we'll go ahead and hook in the lead to the amplifier. All right, so that's in place. And the last thing that we need to do here is the MobileLink TNC. That is until we get to power, but that's okay. There we go. And we're gonna put that right up here like this. All right, we're pressing in the MobileLink TNC. Okay, so that should stay there. And then power. It's going to go right here. Right. We can pop this off, plug in the radio. There we go. And then I will get a little cord with a USB socket for the MobileLink TNC. And now all we need to do is connect up the power to the Anderson. All right, guys, so here we are set up. We have the radio in, we've got the amplifier, we've got it hooked up to the outside, and then we've got power run right there. Everything's plugged in. I haven't turned on the MobileLink TNC yet, so you can see it loose down in there. I will plug it into the USB-A outlet in the cigarette lighter socket here in a second. But the first thing I wanted to do was do a power transmit test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up my power meter into the outlet of the box, and we're going to do a transmit test just to make sure that we're actually getting power out of this amplifier. So we'll get that plugged in and screwed in here. All right, so, and I'll set this right here. Let's see if we can see it. Okay, so if I hit the button, power output, we're getting 4.33 watts out of the radio. All right, let's turn on the amplifier. So we just flip the amplifier on, and let's go ahead and pull the button now. And so we are getting 29 watts out of the amplifier. Sweet. That is going to be awesome. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is plug in the MobileLink TNC and get it sorted. We're going to connect it to a tablet, so I'll show you all that, how to set that up, and then we are in business with an APRS box. Let's get back to work. All right, guys, we've got the iPad paired to the MobileLink TNC, so what we want to do is we want to set it up. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to audio input settings, right? And so what we want to do is open the squelch on the radio and adjust the volume level so the bar just intermittently touches the right side, right? So I'm going to go to menu on the radio, and I'm going to go to squelch and go to 0 on the squelch level. All right, hit menu to confirm, and then we're going to adjust the volume so it looks like it is intermittently touching, right? See it flashing there? Let's turn it down just a little bit. All right, let's go with that. Okay, so we're going to go back to configure. Let's look at power settings. We want to power on with USB power, and we'll go ahead and power off with USB power because nothing else is going to work when this box isn't plugged in, and when this box is plugged in, it will have USB power. So we'll go back to configure. And I don't think we need to do anything else with any of this stuff, right? So, yep, we are good. We are good there. So, with that, this is ready to hook up to an antenna. So, let's go throw this in the car and see what happens. Don't forget to hit save. All right, and I'm going to go back to disconnect, and I'm going to close the app. All right, guys, I'm outside. I've got the APRS hooked up. Let me spin the camera around and show you what we got. All right, don't mind the messy trunk, but basically there we've got the APRS box, and then we got the iPad running APRS Phi, and so that's all the packets that I'm picking up. So That one was, the top one was 15 seconds ago now. And then basically, you can see I've got the signal stalk by signal stick as my 2-meter antenna on a mag mount. I'm going to do a full review of that antenna, so stay tuned for that. But this is basically what we got, right? So, trying to zoom in here. Let me go to map. All right, so there I am, KB8WPD-8. And then if I go to beacon here, I have it set up right so that we have a smart beaconing thing, so it won't beacon unless it won't beacon a lot unless you're moving. So the last time we beaconed was 5 minutes and 12 seconds, which is when I plugged in. And of course, if I was moving faster, then it would beacon more often. And yeah, so I need to reset this. So minimum transmit interval, usually I do like a minute. And then maximum transmit interval, I'm going to go to like an hour, right? So if I'm sitting stationary, I don't need it to transmit, more than an hour, because I'm not going anywhere, right? But if I'm moving at 60 to 70 miles an hour down the road, I want it to beacon, about every 60 seconds or so that it keeps up with my position. And then right here is position ambiguity, guys. So if you don't want to pinpoint your exact location, you can increase this or decrease it so that it gives people a general idea of where you are, but not your exact location. I figure that when I'm on the move, I don't mind, because by the time people try to catch up with me, I'm already gone. But if I am just hanging around, then I might want to throw in some position ambiguity, but you can always change that in the app. And that's how I run APRS in the car. All right, guys, now that we're back inside, let's take one last look at the APRS box. So what I really love about this Plano box is that it has this little lid where I can store my little power cable. All right, so it's already just tucked in there nice. And then when you open it up, it has a top tray. Now, this is perfect for anything that you might want to put in there, like an extra thing of coax, maybe a roll-up J-pole antenna, if you're going to use this as more like a base station type thing. Whatever you want to put in this top tray, you can put in there. My wife suggested I put love notes from her in there, but I think more like sandwiches and string cheese. But, hey, whatever you want to put in there, you can put in that top tray. And then down inside, guys, is, everything that you need to run the box. The amplifier, the radio, the MobiLink TNC, and then the power distribution. So really simple, really easy to build. I could probably put this in a much smaller box, but this is the box I had on hand, and I kind of like having a lot of space. I could actually just gently lay some stuff in there if I wanted to. And then obviously having the tray on top is really nice. So this comes in really, really handy. A couple of things that I would recommend is that you lock the keypad on the radio so that when the radio turns on, nothing hits a button accidentally, and then all of a sudden you are APRS beaconing on a different frequency that no one is picking up, or you're not receiving any packets. So definitely lock the screen so that it isn't going to go off. And then, check in there occasionally to make sure that all your connections are good, that your Velcro is sticking, and all of that. But other than that, guys, it is ready for my next trip. So I'm super excited about it, but there's one more thing I've got to do. If you build a cool box, guys, you gotta put stickers on it. I got my Comms by Kemp Outside sticker. We're giving these away, by the way, so be sure to check out my other videos to learn how to win those. And then shout out to some people I think are really cool. Ham Radio Prep, who helped me get my General. Off-Grid Weather. Comms Depot. This box identifies as a Kenwood THD75A, but I do love the APRS sticker, so I've got that on there. R&L Electronics, shout out to them. I buy some stuff from them. I really like them. And then here's some friends of mine. We got Poda Power, Vaughn and Julie. Awesome YouTube channel. Be sure to check them out. World Radio League. I love the Morse code sticker. Front End Overload. I met Dan at Hamcation. KO4 AFL Steve. Met him at Hamcation. W1 RCP. Met him at Hamcation. Got my Camp Outside sticker on there. Check out my camping, hiking, and fishing content over at Camp Outside. Tank Radio. And of course, a big old shout out to Mike, K8MRD from Ham Radio Tube. I know how much he loves APRS, so I made sure to put his sticker on my APRS box. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. I can't find my Ham Radio Crash Course sticker. Can't find my Ham Radio 2.0 sticker. I saved them for this project. Can't figure out where I put them. So hopefully I'll find them, and if I can slap them on here somewhere, I will. And then, here we go, guys. The POTA sticker. I'm really excited to start doing some POTA activations and getting that on here, so be sure to check that out. Well, there you have it, guys. This was a pretty easy build. I'm going to put links to the stuff that I used in the build, like the Plano box, like the connectors and jumpers and stuff like that. And then, guys, I really recommend you do this, especially if you have an old HT sitting around, right? Go to a ham fest, find yourself a little 2-meter power amp, and build yourself a little APRS box, right? I can set this in the back of the car, plug it into the cigarette lighter, and then run APRS on a tablet, either APRS Fi on Apple products or APRS Droid. I'm probably gonna most of the time run APRS Droid from my Samsung tablet, but either way, guys, you know, basically use that to you know, as your interface, and then you could just, you know, put something like this anywhere you want, the trunk of your car, back seat, you know, whatever, right? And you know, super easy. And then also, this is going to be basically my base station APRS. When I want to run APRS when I'm out camping at the campsite or whatever, my plan is to use a 2-meter roll-up J-pole, throw it up in a tree, run a line to it, and then just power this off my portable power box build that I have at the campsite. And then again, use a tablet for the interface. Super easy. And guys, this was a whole lot of fun to build. I really enjoyed doing stuff like this, so I plan on doing a whole lot more. I'm thinking about doing some mobile radio box builds very similar to this. One of the things I want to do is build a box that has 2 mobile radios in it for my car, because I really don't have anywhere to mount radios in there, and I don't really want to mount radios in there, but I'm kind of thinking that most of the time when I'm running around by myself, I could set a box like this on the passenger seat, throw some mag mount antennas on the roof of the car, and be good to go. So I'm thinking like maybe a VGC radio, and maybe an NXDN mobile radio, because we've got a lot of NXDN digital radio repeaters in our area. The whole West Central Florida is covered with NXDN that are all linked, so that's really cool. So I'm thinking about doing a box like that, but let me know what you think. What do you think of something like this? Again, I know it could be smaller, guys. You could do this in a much smaller box. I just kind of like the tray option and that kind of stuff. And I had this box already sitting around, didn't have a dedicated use for it. So rather than buying another box, I just went with this one. But I think it turned out pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited. But let me know what you think. Also, what else do you want me to build? You know, is there something that you want to see built? I do battery box builds. I do all kinds of stuff. So let me know what you want to see, and then I'll try to get that in the mix. For now, guys, I would just want to thank you for watching. If you have any questions or anything, please sure to drop some in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring that little bell icon that notifies you when I release new videos. We got a whole lot more coming here at Comms by Camp Outside. We're a brand new comms YouTube channel. Also, be sure to check out my other channel, Camp Outside, which does camping, hiking, and fishing content all across North America. So I've got a link down below where you can check out that channel as well. Guys, thanks for watching. I'm Kevin, and this is Comms by Camp Outside, where your inside source for outdoor comms. We'll see you outside.